Hey folks, welcome back. Okay, I'm going to be playing something completely different today. This is not really a gameplay video or let's play. This is a channel update, so I thought I'd just talk to you while I play some ridiculous bullet hell game. I'm not very good at these, by the way, so just be aware. I do like arcade games. So the first kind of game I played like this years ago when I was a kid was R-Type, and I don't know if that's really classed as a bullet hell game, but it kind of feels like it. It's not really the same, but it's, you know, it was like a side-scrolling shoot 'em up. This is Touhou Fuujinroku, Mountain of Faith. It's one of the Touhou project games. This is... I'm not going to go into what this game is. Just Google it. It's really, really interesting. It's really, really interesting the way that these games were developed. The aesthetic behind them is a step too far, even for a hardened weeb like me. Like, I really, really like Japanese stuff, but the flying fairy girls, and yeah, it's ridiculous. However, the gameplay is why I play this. This is a really, really good game. In fact, my friend has been trying to get me into bullet hell games for a while, and I've kind of been like, I can't really be bothered with it. They look great, and I look like I'd really enjoy them if I got into them, but they just look kind of frustrating, and I kind of tend to play games to chill out, but I did not realise, right, how relaxing this is actually to play. Like, you kind of get into the Zen mindset, you know, into flow, playing this kind of game quite easily, so it's really, really nice. Okay, enough about the game. What's going on with the Battle Mode channel? Whoops. Well, at the moment, I'm kind of been busy. There's been a few things that I've been doing, so I'm mostly just doing my work at Stardock. That's just cracking on. GalCiv IV Supernova has released. The game's in a pretty good state now. If you've been holding off from trying it, now is the time to go and play it. All of the most obvious issues are gone, in my opinion. There's just been a big AI update, which was the big thing that I really wanted from the game. The developers have been putting in a lot of time to make sure that the... Yeah, look at this stuff. Yeah, like it. Don't be put. By the way, don't be put off by the weeby anime stuff in this. If you really like these kind of games, this is a really, really, really good one. I think it came highly recommended to me, and yeah, like the aesthetic is just part of it. And if you're a real man, you should be able to get into into the anime girls. Like, you know, there's something to be said for kind of being able to figure this stuff out, even if it's not your kind of thing. Yeah, so GalCiv IV is out. It's really, really good fun. The AI updates have really, really made the game a lot better, in my opinion. I was playing again as the Iconians, and I was going to finish it. The thing is, at that point that I played that game, just after the game was released, or actually that was 1.9, so it was before the game was released. It was like the AI still did some really kind of annoying things, and one of those things was that it just wasn't very aggressive, and you'll see that in that gameplay. Now, I could go into it and finish it, but I'm not 100% sure if those AI changes that have come in recently will affect the game in a big way in order for that to be interesting watching. Because anybody who's watched that series will probably see it was really good fun with regards to the economic side of the game and the way that I was kind of playing the diplomacy and stuff. The problem is that it was just... The AI was just a bit of a pushover. Now that has been fixed. There's some even more AI updates coming in 2.1 update, which is going to be coming soon. I don't think I don't think Stardock have said when that's coming out. So yeah, that's coming very, very soon, and that is going to... Apparently, the AI is so much better in this version that they've actually scaled back some of the bonuses in the way that the AI plays. You know, the modifiers that the AI will get on the high difficulties, I've actually rolled them back because the AI is playing much, much better now, which I'm interested to see. I've not had a chance to test it myself. But yeah, so GalCiv IV, really, really good state. Supernova is so much better than GalCiv IV was, the Epic version. It's almost a completely different game. That game was panned, and it was kind of rightly panned, really. It was doing some stuff that was in the right direction, but the execution was flawed, in my opinion. And, you know, I have to be a bit careful with what I say, because I'm a Stardock employee, and I don't want to, you know, I don't want to offend anybody at Stardock, but I think that Brad Wardell and the rest will be the first people to admit that, you know, the game was flawed. They've really, really worked to fix those flaws now, and it's definitely one of my favourite Space 4X games. It's I'd rather play GalCiv IV Supernova than any of the other Space 4X games I've got. With one exception, I'd say, being Distant Worlds, or Remnants of the Precursors being the other. But they're all such different games. Like, Distant Worlds is a completely different kind of game to GalCiv. It's on a completely different focus. I'd say that the vast majority of GalCiv is a much more fun game than Distant Worlds at the moment. However, I do like the combat in Distant Worlds. And because it's a simulation-based game, it's completely different. So yeah, my top 3 Space 4X games at the moment are Remnants of the Precursors, or Master of Orion, Galactic Civilizations 4 Supernova, and Distant Worlds 2. So those are my favourite games when it comes to Space 4X. Alright, to get back on track, I'm not probably going to finish that Iconian series. If I am, it'll be like, you know, just to do a last episode saying, hey, here's why I'm dropping this series. Let's start another one. Once version 2.1 is out, I believe that the game will be at a state where I feel that I can play a campaign right the way through and finish it, basically. And, you know, it'll be interesting from start to finish. I do think that I want to wait for these incoming AI changes, and I don't think it's going to be long. I don't know how long it's going to take Stardock to get those out, but yeah, I'm going to wait for that, basically. I've just started putting up a multiplayer game of Field of Glory Empires that I'm playing with Richard York and my friend Simon, Hyde77. They're the two guys that I was playing the Shadow Empire multiplayer game. But that's also ongoing. That is just become a really slow-paced game for various reasons. Different people have had to have time away from the game at different points. At the moment, it's me holding the game up because I've just kind of been busy. The other thing that I'm doing that I might have mentioned is I'm playing a multiplayer game of a John Tiller war game, and I want to finish it before I put that up because I don't want it to be an unfinished game going up, because that'll kind of annoy me, or it'll annoy my fans as well. So I kind of want people to, you know, see an entire game go up. Now that is long. It's a big, long game. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that it's in a state where it can be considered finished. Like, you know, if for example, the guy that I'm playing with is very, very patient. He doesn't seem to be that worried about the game being played particularly quickly. I think it's just really good fun. Every single turn on that game has been incredibly good fun. So I think that it'll be one of those where I'm either going to wait till it's completely done, or I'm going to get to, you know, wait till a point where I feel that the game, you know, the series will be worth watching for people, and even if it doesn't get finished, it will still show some really, really interesting gameplay. The problem with the game is it's very, very slow paced. It's very, very big. It's very, very long, and the turns take ages. Like, it takes me an hour and a half to 2 hours to record every single turn, because just the playback of what the other player has been doing is massive. Basically, it takes half an hour for the AI to play back just what the other player was doing, and so as you can imagine, it's a big project, and I don't want people to invest themselves in the series if it's not going to be finished, because I've done that a lot, and it's eventually people are going to get fed up if there's going to be a lot of like abandoned series. And like I've kind of taken I asked Daz Tactic about this. Like, I asked him for some advice, and I was like, what do you do if, you know, you kind of either get bored of a series, or, you know, you're unable to finish it for some reason? And he just said, don't worry about it. Don't play something if you're not enjoying it. That will be worse than you abandoning a series. And that, generally speaking, if you start a new series, people will just watch the new one. And I agree with that to some extent, but I also don't want to be, you know, letting people down too much with, you know, like too many abandoned series. So anyway, John Tiller Modern Campaigns Full to Gap 85. I think what I'll do is I'll make sure that it is in a position where, you know, it's going to be considered worthwhile watching before I put it up. I suspect that will be about 30 turns or so, something like that. Because that way, even if the game doesn't get finished in the long term, which I'm going to finish it anyway, because I promised the guy that I'm playing with that I'm going to finish the game. But it might, you know, at least then it's something that people can see. Okay. What else is going on? I'm also going to... I got really good feedback from the little series that I did on The Lords of Midnight, that really, really old game by what's it called, John Singleton, or Mike Singleton. It's an old ZX Spectrum game from the 8-bit era. So I'm just have to concentrate a little bit here. And yeah, I got a lot of good feedback from that. It was really interesting to see so many people interested to see that game. I honestly didn't think that many people would be that bothered. So I was really, really pleased to see that. I am going to play the sequel, Doomdark's Revenge, at some point as well. I do like that style of game. There's nothing else quite like it in the world. It's kind of a weird mix between a strategy game and a kind of adventure game, RPG, you know, war game, all mixed into one. It's very, very unusual and cool as well. So that's going to be I'm going to have Doomdark's Revenge incoming at some point. I don't know when I'm going to get a chance to play that, but yeah. The other thing is that I haven't really done a series of, you know, just kind of a non-long strategy game series. What I mean by that is like one that isn't going to take 20, 30 episodes for you guys to sit through. Like I do want to try and find some games that are a little bit shorter to play, that kind of fit my busiest schedule at the moment, and you know are going to be still going to kind of scratch that strategic or tactical itch for people who kind of watch my channel for that kind of thing. So yeah, oh god, I suck at this game. I only bought this one this morning, so I played it for about an hour this morning trying to figure it out, like what the hell is going on in this thing. So you're probably, for anybody who's actually fans of bullet hell games, you're probably like, what the hell are you doing, mate? I'm not even using half the stuff that you can do. I'm just kind of like, trying to zen my way through it. Okay, yes. What else, channel-wise? What's outstanding? Oh yeah, I've got a Field of Glory Empire single-player game. I'm just kind of playing that every now and again when I'm in the mood for it. To be honest, I only really did that. That series started because I just wanted to show off Field of Glory Empires, because Field of Glory Medieval, or what is it called? Field of Glory Kingdoms has been announced, right? And I think there's some hype about that game. And I saw some other people covering it, and I thought to myself, wow, I've not played Empires in ages. I rate Empires as one of the best grand strategy games ever made, and I put that in the. I think people thought that was a bit of a clickbait title that I made, and it kind of was a little bit, but it did get people talking, because that game is really, really clever, and I think that I'm not really qualified to talk about games design because haven't studied it really. I don't really know that much about it. However, I know enough to be able to know a good game, and I've been playing games a long time, particularly strategy games, to know a good game when I see one. And I think that Field of Glory Empires really approached the grand strategy genre from a very unusual perspective, and yet it was very modern in a lot of ways. And I really wish that other grand strategy and strategy titles took some of the innovations in that game, in that kind of games design into consideration. So I've got some green-haired schoolgirl attacking me. Yeah, I really wish that other games took some of the game design cues from that game, because the way that they've approached things like, how to avoid map painting, the whole decadence mechanic, the fascinating way that it approached the. Sorry, I'm gonna have to cheat to get out of this one. The fascinating way that they approached the economy with the random. With the way that everything was randomized, I just thought it was fascinating. I really, really liked that. I just thought it was really clever, and I just wish more games did stuff like that. Just kind of had this kind of interesting, novel approach to approaching old school game design for problems. Like, for example, Galactic Civilizations 4, right? This is one of the reasons why I rate it. And again, I work for Stardock, so I am biased, and just understand that when I talk about it. But even before I got the job at Stardock, I realised that what they were doing with Galactic Civilizations 4 was really, really innovative in various ways. Like the whole way that they are splitting the core worlds and colonies addresses a lot, is an attempt to address a kind of old school problem with 4X game design. And I think it was pretty good in that respect. I have arguments with certain people online about this, but that whole mechanic, along with a few others, allows you to kind of play tall if you want to. It also enables you to play GalCiv IV. If you get a bad start, normally, like on a difficult, on a high difficulty setting of a 4X game, if you get a bad start with bad RNG, just a restart, right? There's a reason why there's a shortcut in GalCiv to be able to just instantly regenerate the map and get a whole new map with the same settings, because it's just such an old problem that, you know, that the RNG could screw you. But actually the way that GalCiv designed is means that you're never screwed. You can always come back, and part of that is because of some of the mechanics they put in there that are abusable, like, you know, the star-based stacking, that kind of stuff. Like, I've kind of taken a friend's advice to stop star-based stacking, you know, in my normal games now, because it does make the game a little bit easier, and the AI doesn't do it. However, if you are in a bind, you know, like, and you want to kind of like work your way through a game that you started and it is really difficult, do it, because you are supposed, those tools are there so that you can use them, you know, if you need to. And like, I think that really offends like a lot of players who feel that if a mechanic's there, you have to use it. Like, you know, min-max men, they really have this big problem where they feel like if something's there, they've got to use it. And it's thrown up some really, really interesting questions in my mind with regards to how game design works. In like, who are you designing your games for, right? Who is it you're designing your games for, in the sense of, are you wanting people to be able to play in a thematic kind of fluff-based way, you know, where you're kind of making the story yourself and you're trying to play to a kind of theme, or are you going hardcore on the min-max, right? Are you going hardcore into stacking the bonuses and odds in your favor? And those aren't necessarily conflicting design points, and I think that GalCiv really, really does well there. It's not perfect, and yes, some of the abilities are completely abusable, but it really gives players a lot of leeway, particularly if you are not the sort of person who has to use every broken exploit. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you've got discipline, if you're a disciplined gamer who likes the idea of organic difficulty, and, you know, like the Dark Souls kind of player, right? Who, you know, that there are easy builds in Dark Souls games, and there are very, very difficult ones. And when you've gotten used to the brutal difficulty of the game, and actually starting to find it easy, well, then that's when you can start challenging yourself with some of the more difficult stuff. And so you stop using the easy things, and it's the same. Like, there's no reason why strategy games in 4X cannot be the same. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was the same in Master of Magic, the original Master of Magic. Like, you know, if I want to, you know, if somebody put a gun to my head and said, right, you need to, if you don't win a game of Master of Magic right now, I'm going to shoot all your family. I mean, a horrific thing to happen, but you get the idea, right? Then I could win easily, and the reason I could just set up a game with an 11-book strategy like Wraithform Werewolves or something like that, and I could win the game in like 30 or 40 turns or whatever it is, and job done. But that's not necessarily fun, right? Now, if you're playing on a really, really high difficulty level, then that could be fun, okay? You know, because then, like, especially if you're playing something like Caster of Magic, then the AI is going to be able to do that as well. Well, yeah, I mean, actually, I think the AI on Caster of Magic will use stuff like Wraithform Werewolves, so you've got to be aware of those kind of tactics. But anyway, sorry if this all seems very long and rambling. I'm coming to a point. Part of the reason is I'm rambling is because I'm playing a game at the same time as trying to have a conversation about games design. My point being, Field of Glory Empires was one of those games, I feel like GalCiv IV is becoming, where it's got some noticeable issues if you are not, you know, if you're trying to exploit it in a min-maxy kind of way. I think it's less exploitable than GalCiv. In fact, it's far less exploitable than GalCiv, I'd say. However, it's still got that same kind of design principle where you can kind of play it the way you want to. You can play it as a sort of, you know, in theme to the sort of civilization that you're, you know, the nation that you're playing as, or the kingdom or tribe or whatever it is that you're playing. You can play it in that kind of theme, or you can try to just kind of really play it as a really hardcore min-max game and boost the difficulty settings really, really high, and then you know, kind of like trying to stack all the odds in your favor. So those two design principles aren't, those two design principles aren't necessarily, you know, completely conflicting with one another. So I'm trying to find more games that are like that, where, yeah, kind of like the Dark Souls sort of organic difficulty kind of vibe, where, you know, you don't necessarily have to min-max, and it's not just about kind of playing in a thematic way either. Another game I've been playing recently that is very much like this is a CRPG that I really like. In fact, I've grown to love it. It's called Underrail, and Underrail is a classic Fallout-like RPG. It's like a post-apocalyptic RPG. It's very heavily based on the original 2 Fallout games, Fallout 1 and 2. You know, the isometric, 2D, the isometric games basically. I know isometric isn't necessarily the kind of correct terminology, but you get what I'm on about. They are very hard. It's a very difficult game when you first starting to learn it. The mechanics are very complex, especially with the combat. It's a very combat-based game. It's also very much... it's kind of a little bit like, you know, show don't tell with regards to the storyline. Although it's not perfect in that respect. I think a great way of... I don't really like RPGs that are all very wordy. So I kind of bounced off Planescape Torment, and I don't like Disco Elysium. I know that the writing in Disco Elysium is supposed to be very good. It didn't do anything for me at all. But I like Show Don't Tell, and I think that Underrail is actually very underrated with regards to its storytelling. Some people think it's not very well written. I disagree. I think it's actually really well done. It's got brilliant moments in it, particularly in the DLC. Once you get to the DLC content in Expedition, it's almost like a different game with regards to the quality. But the Underrail Expedition, once you start playing through that, suddenly it throws the original game and the kind of sparseness of the story into sharp relief, and it's really cool. It's wonderfully paced, and it kind of makes the rest of Underrail feel very what's the word? It's suitable, it's fitting, and yeah. So, and the reason why I bring Underrail up is because Underrail also kind of has the same principle that you can kind of play it how you want to play, right? You can, if you put it up onto the dominating difficulty, which I don't play on, I'm just not good enough for that. You can, you really have to min-max your build in order to stand a chance of winning the game. If you just play it on normal, you still need to, optimize your build, but you can make some mistakes with your build. You don't have to kind of completely hardcore go into, one specific thing. You can spend a few points on other stuff if you want to play around with some of the other mechanics. But it also exemplifies this idea that I'm talking about. These kind of games where you can play them in a min-maxing optimization build optimization way, very pressure-based way, or you can play it in a very lore fluff kind of based way, and it works in both ways. And I'm starting to realize, like, I like these kind of games best. These kind of games where you can, where you kind of choose your own difficulty. The best games are the ones that not only have the organic difficulty, but they don't strictly abide by organic difficulty. So they will have some, kind of artificial modified difficulty settings built in, so that if you want to challenge yourself with an easier build or something, then there is still some more challenge there, if you follow me. So for example, if you want to play Underrail with one of the easier, more obviously optimized builds, there is still some challenge for you to do so, because you can play it on the dominating difficulty setting. Or if you want to play with something that's obviously going to be a little bit weaker, like some combination of abilities or weapon styles that don't have a natural synergy, you can still complete the game by playing it on a slightly easier difficulty mode. And yeah, so I've found myself really gravitating towards those kind of games at the moment. I do like that kind of thing with Field of Glory Empires. I really do like it with Underrail. Like I'm nearly finished Underrail now. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a review of that game, and once I've completed it, I'm going to do a review, because I think that it's not underrated. To say it's underrated would be lying. It's well regarded amongst the community that actually enjoy it, but I think the difficulty initially put people off. Also, it's like, sometimes I struggle to figure out whether it's actually a well-designed game or a kind of bad one that is just still nonetheless incredibly fun. Because Underrail, basically, I don't know, maybe I'm just not very good at it, but like I have to save scum my way through that game. And when I say save scum, I don't mean that in a literal sense. Like, save scumming technically is when you when you will be re-rolling, so you'll be reloading the game to get a better dice roll. That's technically what Savescumming is, right? So if let's say, we'll use XCOM as an example. Let's say you've got a shot to make, and it's the shot that you need to make in order to win the map, you know, and if you don't make it, you're going to lose. Savescumming would be re-rolling after every missed shot in order to get the you know, the correct, in order to get the shot that hits. I don't really do that with Underrail. However, if a battle goes wrong, obviously I'm going to reload it, right? And every time I come across a hard battle in Underrail, I probably have to reload it about 15-20 times. Because it's like, partly because you're exploring and you're learning how to, you know, use all these tools that you've got. But also because it is RNG based, and the strategy that you picked might be a good strategy for what you've chosen, but you might just have bad luck. And I think there's an argument there's an argument to be said that that's not necessarily the best game design if your game is kind of designed around really needing to save scum your way through it. That said, maybe if you've got 1,000 hours in Underrail, like a lot of people probably have, then you could probably learn how to play that game on Iron Man. If you could do that, hats off to you, man. Like, because that is difficult. So anyway, I'm probably going to end this video because it's just become a rambling talk, you know, of this semi-educated idiot talking about concepts he doesn't really know about. But yeah, I just thought it was kind of interesting for you to catch up with where my head's been at with regards to games. I'm really I'm starting to get a real problem with modern games design, with developers making games way too easy, making them, like, balancing them for the lowest common denominator. You know, the fact that the game developers are now at the mercy of Steam reviews, and particularly a growing and intolerant class of player who will not have any, like, everything has to be absolutely perfect. They've got to be amazing at the game at the start. You know, the tutorial has to be completely comprehensive. It can't have any single bugs whatsoever, not even ones that are really difficult to find. Basically, this kind of like perfectionist attitude towards game design is really, like, it's killing AAA games in a big way. AAA games designers, by the way, are killing AAA games too. Oh, what's going on here? Oh, I think my game. Oh, my joypad. Sorry about that. Yeah, I think AAA games designers are killing, developers are killing AAA games, to be honest. But the whole idea that the Steam reviews are really stimmying people in a big way, and I'm starting to see it a lot with indie games as well. Like, you'll see that even it's making it difficult for developers to put in risky stuff, because if they put in something like, for example, a game like Underrail now, I don't think it would ever get anywhere on Steam, because it's so brutally hard. And it's got a kind of, you know, it's difficult, right? It's another one like Shadow Empire. Shadow Empire has got multiple points where people are going to be put off by it, right? So whether that's the user interface, whether it's the kind of, like, you know, it was the old school looking graphics, whether it was just the sheer complexity. The fact that Shadow Empire did as well as it has done is incredible to me, and it's a testament to how good the game is, because it is just such an unusual, weird game. I think in 2003, games like Shadow Empire, you know, like basically pretty much any game is going to get shot down by this kind of like class of gamer who just complains about absolutely everything. And I think that this is another thing that I really want to do a Steam review. I want to do a video about, which is talking about how I do think that the way that negative Steam reviews, well, just Steam reviews in general, I think they're crippling games design, especially. I think game development, and I think that they're pushing, particularly commercial gaming. Like, indie games are less effective, because I think indie gamers can try to take a little bit more risk, but I do think that particularly with modern mainstream gaming, it's just pushing it into a real bad hole. It's not just that as well. I mean, for a start, Steam reviewers have a lot to complain about, and I'm not saying that people who leave negative reviews are bad people. That's not what I'm saying. It's not really that. It's kind of, I think it's a growing pushback against games that have been pushed out too early. You know, games that really should have been coming out in early access, and shoddy, you know, basically shoddy releases, often because they're pushing, trying to get money out of people, and scummy development practices by big companies like EA and that, and Ubisoft. I think that there's a right, it's right to have a backlash, on the reviews because of that. The problem is, people are they've kind of got into this mindset where they're on the lookout for every little issue, and then they're throwing it at games that aren't necessarily deserving of it, if you see what I mean. So I think that it's a really, really weird situation we're into at the moment, and I can't see how we're going to navigate our way through it. People still need to leave negative reviews if a game sucks, absolutely, but I feel that what people are expecting now in games, the things that people are willing to complain about, I think I'm quoting my boss, he put something on Reddit like recently, but it was something along the lines of, there's like 1 in 10 people who leave Steam reviews persistently leave negative reviews, and they're often about the most ridiculous things, like really, really small complaints, and sometimes I'll be playing the game for 30-40 hours and they'll leave a review like, one of the sound effects annoys me, and it's like it's that kind of attitude that's really, really making it difficult for games developers now, because they're having to basically make every game into this to force it into this narrow tunnel of acceptable things that will avoid Steam reviews, and this is making gaming a lot worse. So yeah, anyway, I've got the idea, the gist of what I want to say about it across, but I think it's one of these issues I need to think a little bit more about, because one, it's got the potential to offend people, and I don't mean to do that. Like, if you're one of these people who leaves a lot of negative Steam reviews, that's fine. Just understand that if you're going to do it, make sure you're doing it about valid things, not just stupid petty things, because that really does, if it's, there are, like, I will do this on the video. I can give you some examples, and I'll blur their names out or whatever, because I don't want to be shaming anybody. But, like, there are people on Steam who literally just leave negative reviews. That's all they do. And the reviews are always stupid as well. And there's a lot of these people. Like, and I think this kind of... For example, let's look at Total War Warhammer, right? The community has rightly been pushing back at some absolutely terrible behavior by Creative Assembly, and some really obviously dodgy practices. Now, it sounds like CA have got themselves in a real mess recently, and that's probably why, mismanagement, whatever, pressure from Sega. But the fan pushback, or the customer feedback, has turned into this kind of war, and it's kind of ugly, and I don't think anybody wins in that situation. That's a whole other topic, and it's not one that I'm going to go into a lot here, but it's an example of what I'm talking about. Now, a lot of the people who are complaining about that have got really, really valid points, and unfortunately, because of poor behavior by companies like Creative Assembly and other big developers, or big publishers and developers, it's fostering this kind of pushback culture, which has its place. But I think once once you've got a sword, right, you've got to know who to wield it at, right? Because the sword it's a double-edged blade, and used in the right way, it can really, really push for change. But if it's blanket applied to everything that you approach, particularly where it's not always necessary, or you're kind of like bitching about something that's kind of small, but you're still applying that gold standard that you've got in your mind of what a game should be across the board, this is where the issue is starting to, it starts to become a real problem. So yeah, so anyway, that's where my head is at. Okay, I'm going to finish this video, guys, because this is way longer than I was anticipating it being. I just thought I'd just have a bit of a chat while I played some games. So what's going on next with the channel? Yeah, I'm gonna wait for 2.1 for GalCiv IV, and then we'll probably start a new game of that. I'm uploading probably daily videos for the multiplayer game with Richard and Hyde 77 for Field of Glory Empires, and I'm on the lookout for something new to play, basically, because I need a bit of a break from 4X. I think, like, I've mostly not, apart from GalCiv, I've not been playing 4X. I'm kind of sick of them. I'm fine, like, and that's not because I just don't like 4X games anymore. I'm just burned out on 4X. And really, I'm starting to see a lot of the flaws in the genre now, and I'm less and like kind of falling into my own trap really here. I'm becoming one of these people who's really, really critical of certain game genres because I've played it so much that I really see a lot of the problems. And 4X is one of them. And I'm less and less impressed with games that are just churning out more of the same. So for me to be interested in a 4X game now, it's really got to be doing something different that's not really been done before. Or it's got to be doing something that we've seen before, but in just a very, very well executed way. So, you know, I'm sure my detractors will go, well, you know, GalCiv's just another GalCiv game. It's like, yeah, but it is a GalCiv game very recognisably, but it's got loads and loads of stuff in there that is really quite, you know, quite unique and really, really forward-thinking for the genre. And it's attempting to push the 4X genre in a new direction with regards to the quality and the way that it's addressing stuff. So yeah, I'm on the lookout for a new 4X game. If you've got any games that you want me to have a look at, throw them at me in the comments section. If they look interesting to me, I'll consider taking a look. Any other games, genres that you want me to take a look at? Like, I don't think many of my audience are going to want to see me play stuff like this. Like, this is just something I do when I'm trying to chill out. Like, I'm not. Don't worry, I'm not going to turn into an arcade game YouTuber anytime soon. I do like this stuff though. This is great, man. It's been years and years and years, you know, since I played anything like this. I was never really very good at arcade games anyway. So anyway, I'll leave it there, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. It's just battle mode rambling as usual, but I will catch you next time. Leave a comment and let me know what you want to see on the channel, and you know, what is it that I've been doing that you've been enjoying? Do you want to see more Conquest of Elysium 5? I was considering playing some Dominions 5. I've still got one ongoing series, but the problem is with Dominions, we've got Dominion 6 around the corner. My understanding of Dominion 6 is it's not ready yet, and it's probably not going to be out for a while. I was hoping it would be out this year. My understanding was it was going to be out this year. I don't know whether that's going to be the case. But at least that's what Illwinter has said. They said it would be out at some point this year, I think. I don't want to misquote them, but I'm sure I remember reading that. And I don't know when it's going to be out. I was kind of hoping for it to be out around now. So I'm expecting it to be announced like anytime soon. So I think the Dominions is probably off. I'm not going to bother with Dominions 5 because the games take so long to play that I'm pretty sure before I got a chance to finish it, Dominion 6 will be out. But Conquest of Elysium I always like to play. And yeah, Shadow Empire. I haven't really got time to play Shadow Empire at the moment. That's the main problem with it. I think if I do play it, it's going to be a small game. But that's something I could actually do. Maybe play just like a small map and make it really hard or something, just to try to really challenge myself on it. Because there's a lot of changes that have come to Shadow Empire recently, where particularly with AI changes and just mechanics changes overall that I really want to test out. I understand that the game's more difficult now, and that's good for me because I was starting to find it a little bit too easy. I was getting a bit too good at it, and the way that I was playing probably was, particularly with the way that I was setting the game up, just made it kind of too easy. Whereas I'm thinking now, with the, you know, hopefully with all these fixes that have come in over the last year, I've really not played. Yeah, it's been nearly a year now since I've started a new game. It was Oceania. When Oceania came out was the last time I started a new game on online, you know, on YouTube. So the game's changed dramatically since then. So maybe I'll start something like that. Oh, one more thing. At some point, I do want to play Brigandine. Now, Brigandine is a tactical. It's like a Japanese tactical RPG. It's not an RPG. It's a strategy game. It's a tactics game, basically, with a kind of overland map that you have to conquer, and then each battle is for a particular piece of territory. And the reason why I didn't play it originally was it's kind of long. The other reason is because I felt that it was a little bit too easy. But what I've realised with that game is it gets really difficult towards the end, much more difficult towards the end, particularly if you don't, you know, if you play it properly and you don't reload saves and things. It's actually quite hard. So I think I'm going to play that at some point too. So that's on my to-do list. Out of all these options that I've given you, let me know in the comments what you want me to play, and I will catch you next time. Take care, guys.